Badass business owners, welcome to another episode of the Local Small Business Coach Podcast, where each episode we work on getting you to $100,000 in take-home pay. So if you're all ready to boost your profits, increase your sales, improve your processes, and develop stronger teams so you can stop living job to job, then let's dive in. Hey, badass local small business owner. Welcome back to another episode of the Local Small Business Coach Podcast, where each week we spend time diving into you and your business and how to make more money. More money for the business, but more importantly, more money for you. Yes, that's why we all work, isn't it? We need to make some money. Sure, we love helping other people out. And yes, we love what it is that we do. But at the end of the day, we'd probably work a lot less hours and have a lot more sleep if we weren't needing to take care of our family and to take care of those goals that we have for ourselves. So it all comes down to money. So today I thought we would dive in and talk a little bit about money. So let me ask you a question. Do you know what you need every single month to make your monthly nut? You're going, what did you just say, Tammy? My monthly what? My monthly nut? What? Now, some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have probably heard of that term before. And some of you are going, what on earth are you talking about? This is a term that kind of has floated around. A lot of times it's used in real estate. It's used in business. And basically what your monthly nut means is how much money at minimum do you need to make to be able to cover your business expenses. So to keep your business afloat, what is that monthly number that you need to have? So for example, I'm going to use my old Baskin-Robbins. I always knew that I needed to have at least $13,000 to be able to pay for all of my stuff. All right. Now, mind you, this is profit of what you need. This isn't sales. This is what you need profit after you pay your product costs and everything else. So main thing is when you take your income and then you take out your product costs and then you've got your gross profit, then all of a sudden, as you know, you start paying all your bills and everything else. So for example, within my basket is I knew that in my head, now I'm going to round up some numbers or round down in one cases just so you kind of have an idea. But I knew that, hey, you know what, out the chute, I needed $4,000 just to pay my rent. To pay my rent, I needed $4,000. And I also knew that I have an ice cream place. So it's very important I keep that electricity on. And I had 7 freezers and refrigerators. So that bill ran me anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 just to keep my electric on. Then I realized I had people I had to pay, right? I had a payroll. And by the way, I had a very basic payroll and I always did it that way to be able to make things work. But I knew that I needed to keep at least $2,500. Now, mind you, I'm doing my low months. This isn't my higher months when I have a lot of people, but I just knew that if the wheels fell off, what did I need for the basics to get through? Well, I knew I needed $2,500 for payroll. I knew that I was going to have to buy ice cream to keep the place going. Now, granted, this is part of product cost. So it's kind of, I'm taking a little liberties with what I knew I needed to do because I knew I was bringing in some ice cream. So I knew I needed to have, and by the way, you can use this if you have some pretty, consistent inventory numbers, then you can kind of throw those in there into your monthly nut. So in my particular case, I knew I was buying anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 worth of ice cream. So I always kind of planned on about $3,000 that I was going to need for the ice cream. If I backed the ice cream out, my $13,000 would go down to $10,000. So I knew, obviously it was going to land in there. And then finally, I had my other operating expenses because I had insurances, I had some training stuff, you can go down a list of all kinds of stuff, including advertising that I was already committed to, and a bunch of other items. So I always knew that at the end of the day, I needed at least this $13,000. That was my monthly nut. Now, for each of you, that number is going to be different. For those of you that also have a brick and mortar, you know what? Your number is going to be high just like mine because you're going to have this whole lease that you have to pay, which is usually a big chunk. And then you're going to have utilities, in which case you notice I didn't say water. My water was actually part of my lease, is the way that they worked it in there. But if you have a brick and mortar, I want you to figure out what your lease is. I want you to figure out what your basic payroll that you have within your store. I want you to figure out your utilities, and your expenses to keep that business going. I want you to think about all of your other operating expenses. So basically your monthly net's going to include everything it is to keep those doors open. And in some cases, some of you guys don't take a salary right away. So you may not have payroll worked into that if you're the only one being paid. But for a lot of you, you do have at least 2 or 3 people. So include their payroll. What does your monthly net look like? Then as we get into everybody else's businesses, that number's probably going to come down because our single largest things are for the most part taking out, which is being the lease and being the electric and stuff like that. So for the rest of you, you're probably your biggest expense that you have to have and be accounted for is more than likely going to be any leases, rentals, equipment, outstanding loans, anything that you have, which by the way goes into this number as well. I was debt-free business. I want you to be a debt-free business, but I understand some of you guys have debt. So you're going to put that into your monthly net as well. If you have a $500 payment that you have to make every single month to pay back on something that you purchased, then that needs to be part of that number. So some of you might have only a handful of things and some of you might have a larger variety, but you can group things. You can take your expenses and you can kind of group them together. But I want to make sure that each and every one of you knows what your monthly net is. And the reason that this is so important is you need to know what the bare minimum is that you need to make in order to keep your business afloat. Now, we want way more than that, but you know, part of what motivates us and gets us to do what we need to do is when we know the bare minimum number that we have to make to clear the board. So for example, if you think about it, you do this personally. If you know that it's no different than your budget. If you know that in order for you to pay your bills and feed your family and keep pay your mortgage or your rent or whatever, and you knew that you needed to clear $3,000 every single month, you know what your personal nut is. You know what the number is that you need to keep your family going. So your business has that same type of number. You need to know what that number is because it's going to motivate you more. You hustle differently when you know what that number is. For example, when you know you need $3,000 to keep your family going, trust me, you're hustling to get that $3,000 because you know you need to have it. So what I want to do is I want to keep layering onto that. I want you to know what your business needs to do to get to at least the break-even point. So what is your break-even point? What's your monthly nut when you put it together? It doesn't have to be an exact number down to, I need $10,000, 32 cents. And you don't need any of that, but you need to know approximately it is X amount. Now, here's the next part. What I want you to do is, since we're on this subject, I want to keep going for a minute. I want you to know your business's monthly nut. The next thing I want you to do is, remember when I was talking just a few minutes ago about what your personal, you need $3,000 personally to be able to get your family going. Let's do this because most of you are feeding you're a solopreneur, you're running your business. Then I want you to take that number and let's go ahead and add it so that you know what your full monthly nut is for you as a business owner, because you are the employee that you need to pay, right? You are the employee that you need to pay on top of it all. So let's just say that if you knew that you needed, I'm going to pick different numbers. Let's just say you need $2,000 just to keep your business going. Well, you also know you have this $3,000 that you need to keep your family going. So no matter what, you have a $5,000 nut. $2,000 for your business, $3,000 for your family and for you personally. So now you know that no matter what, your business has to generate, even in the worst months, your business must generate at least $5,000. Now, obviously, when you're in bigger months, you're going to have to produce even higher than that. But we all need a starting point. We all need a jumping off point. For example, I know in my head I've always known what my bills add up to. And even in my real estate business, it's a little different than a lot of yours. But at the same time, guess what? I'm out there hustling. I'm the one that has to create everything. I know what I need to have every month in commissions in order to not have to rob Peter to pay Paul, in order for me to run my business, to be able to run the business side and the finances I have for that, and what I need to be able to take home to do what I need to do. So we all have a number. So you need to know what your monthly nut is, what your monthly nut is for your business and for you personally. Because here's the thing. We've talked a little bit about this in the past. I want you to start paying yourself first, because here's the thing. You don't know what you need to have in sales unless you know all of your numbers. So here's the thing is if you know you have once again, $2,000 for your business, $3,000 for you, you know you need $5,000. Now that's not $5,000 in sales. That's $5,000 in profits that you can use to be able to keep your business going and to pay yourself the minimum of what you need to do. So right now, let's just say if you run to make numbers easy for everybody, if you have a 50% margin, basically for every dollar you take in, $1 or 50 cents goes out in costs, product costs. If you know that, then you know that in order for you to make $5,000, you have to do $10,000 in sales. For most of you, this is going to be a little bit more of a complicated number. But once again, we're on this mission to get you guys better and better and better at your numbers. So for example, if you already know that you keep 60 cents out of every dollar that you make, then you can work your same calculation backwards. So now I know if I have $5,000 that I need to cover and I make 60 cents on every dollar, all you have to do is take your 5,000 and multiply it by 1.6 and it's going to come up to $8,000. You need $8,000 to be able to cover your 5,000. And like I said, I don't mean to do math on a podcast because it makes it so much more difficult. But the better you get at your numbers and understanding how much of your numbers, you guys can sit down and you can figure that out as well without me trying to do math over the podcast for you. I could do it, but I'm just going to end up losing everybody. But the main thing is I want to make sure that you have those two numbers in mind as you start every single month. And when you start the month, by the way, the last time you need to figure out what you need for the month is on the first of the month. I posted in the Facebook group, for example, at the beginning of May, I'm like, hopefully everybody knows what your sales goals are for the month. And here's the thing, is if the first time you thought about your May sales goals is the day I posted that inside Facebook, then we have a problem. You need to actually know what your May's sales goals are much sooner. And really, you're going to do it a couple different times. You're going to start at your yearly plan of what you want to do every single month, and then you continue to fine tune and tweak that as you get closer to each month. But really, people should have known what their May sales plan goal was at the beginning of the year when they set out their goals for the entire year. What I'm going to ask you right now is, when you're listening to this, did you even set any May sales goals? Did you know what your monthly nut was? Both business and personally. Most of you probably know your personal one because you know those bills. You have to sit down and you have to fill those out all the time. But here's the thing. You've got, my whole goal is to continue to get you guys stronger and stronger at pre-planning all of this. Because here's the next thing. If you know you need your monthly nut, right? So then you've worked it back and you figured out what your sales need to be. The next thing is you need to figure out, how am I going to come up with $8,000? If you need $8,000 in sales to be able to cover everything, then you need to say, okay, well, let me break that down. Because once again, 8,000, huge number. How am I going to do that? Depends on your jobs. And if you're a painter and you're making $2,000 a job, great. I need to book 4 jobs. And if I can book 4 jobs, I'm going to be good. Most of us, that's not the way it's going to work. You have a lot of smaller jobs that add up. Okay, great. Let's figure this out again. If there's 4 weeks, then I know I need $2,000 a week in sales. In order for me to get 2,000 weeks in sales, how am I going to break that down? Am I working all 7 days? Am I working 6 days, 5 days? How many sales do I need? How many clients? What's my average sale? Okay, well, if my average sale is $50, then how many do I need to have? And how many do I need to have a day? That's the kind of detail that you need to get within your business. You can't keep flying by the seat of your pants, because if you keep flying by the seat of your pants, you're never really going to know where you're going. You're never going to hit the targets that you have for you and your business because you're just living. Now, here's what happens for those of you that have more business than you can handle and everything else. Part of the reason of what happened is your business took off, and right now you don't know any of those numbers. You're just in survival mode. And what happens is you far exceed your nut in most cases of what you need, and everything's kind of gravy, so you keep working and everything's good. But I want to challenge even those of you guys that are doing that good, that you need to slow down. Remember, you need to work on your business, because you need to start getting those processes in place so you can continue to grow that. I want you guys to be extremely, you know what, if your monthly nut is $5,000, I want you to have $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in profits. So that way you can take care of that business monthly nut, not only your personal bills, but you know what, you can build equity inside of your company and you can start taking home even more money. Or for some of you guys, as you go into seasonal swings, you know you can put that money away. For example, if you know, with my basket, for example, that 13 was going to be very extremely difficult in November and December and January. Those are the slowest months. So I knew I had to far exceed that during the summer months, spring and summer, and then book as much money as I could so that I could get through that. Because, for example, there were some Decembers where I only did 10. So if I only did 10 in sales, but my monthly nut is 13, guess what? Yes, I was getting $3,000 from previous months to be able to pay that. And that was the way that it was until I can continue to grow that business from 10 to 11 to 12. And eventually, you know what? I was able to get it to where that it could cover the entire monthly nut and I didn't have to rob as much as I did in the past. So that's my message for today. I want to make sure that each of you guys start putting some thought to this, some pen to paper, and I want to make sure that you know what your monthly nut is for your business and for you personally. And then I want you to continue to follow that equation on down to what you need to accomplish when it comes to sales. So hopefully that's making a little bit of sense. It's giving you a little different way to look at your business. But at minimum, if you walk away with nothing else today, I want to make sure that at any given time, you know exactly what your monthly nut is. And that may fluctuate depending upon the time of year, depending upon your business, depending upon the way your lease is written. Some people have sliding scales and everything else. Your payroll is going to slide obviously during the time of months. So if you have more employees during the spring and summer, guess what? Your monthly nut's probably going to be higher during those months than the other ones. So just dive into your business and really fully understand. As one of your exercises, I want you to go out there and figure out what is your monthly nut, and then what your business monthly nut is, what your personal monthly nut is, and then use that to calculate out what is the minimum you need to do in sales to be able to hit both of those. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I'm going to end this podcast, but before you go, I just want to give you a reminder that you are a badass and you are here to achieve awesomeness. I'm just here to go along for the ride. All right. I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, badass local small business owner, before you go, if you would like to join our Facebook group, come on over. Go over to Facebook and in the search function, put in there badass local small business owner. It's going to pop up the Facebook page. We're just starting out, so be one of the founding members here in this Facebook group. It's going to be different than the other ones. We're not going to be blasting marketing materials and any of that junk. No, this is real life questions. We're going to help each other out. And yes, I'm going to be in that room as well, checking in on you guys and answering your questions. So come on, join our Facebook group, Badass Local Small Business Owners. Type it into the search function or look in the show notes and click there and it will take you there. Join us, won't you?